Good morning. Welcome to Real People. Today we're having a conversation with Vera Traver, who I got to know working at YWCA McLean County and with the Labyrinth program, but I don't know her very well. And she is a really interesting, really inspiring person. So this is an opportunity for us to learn a bit more about Vera in her voice with her words. So welcome.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much. So, hi, my name is Vera Traver, and I am just a person that is very simple with lived experience. And I feel like today, through working at YWCA, I get to work there. And I say that because it's such a privilege. It's such a privilege. I feel like the day to day work that I get to do at Labyrinth addresses my own past issues. So I may get an opportunity to work with a woman who has had her children taken, who has been molested at a young age, who has been raped as an adult, who have experienced incarceration and experienced homeless. Um, like the list can go on and on and on. And those are my issues. That is my past. That is my trauma. So say it's a privilege because I get to walk other people to a better destination, or I get to be a part of that, of their solution. So it's so exciting for me. It's just so um, empowering for me. You know, it's like if I can ride the bicycle and then turn around and teach somebody else how to ride the bicycle, to me, that is priceless. Priceless. So there, you can't put a dollar amount on that. You
Who
know,
helped you? Who helped you to learn how to ride the bicycle from all that life experience and trauma? Who was there for you?
you know, when they say it takes a village to raise a child, it definitely takes a village. You know, first and foremost, I got to give credit to the God that I serve, you know, that led me to people that would help me. So I have a sponsor through the 12-step program, and we began to work steps. We began to work the 12 steps. And during that process, I learned it was like Vera, meet the real Vera. Because all I knew was the drug life, prostitution, in and out of prison, losing my children, being homeless. That's all I knew. You know, I was raised in the streets, basically. So that's what I knew. So she began to teach me other things about myself. So it was like after I pull off the resentment to the foster father, pull off the hatred, pull off the anger, pull off the molestations, pull all of this stuff that had me buried. I was buried in my circumstances. When I began to pull all this off of me, I found out that there was a jewel. And I found out that I was a good person that had done some bad things. And um, and so what I had to learn is how to keep shining that jewel and just keep shining it. It's gonna get some dust back on it because we run life. We live life. I'm not a perfect person. I'm gonna make some mistakes, but I don't ever want to be that buried, you know, where I'm just like can't move because it's too much dirt on me. So once I get a little dusty, I want to just brush it off. And so that's what the 12 steps taught me how to do with my inner being. So behind each step, there was a spiritual principle, and I began to learn how to apply the principles in my daily life. So that's what I get to give back, not only to clients, to family members, to friends, to anybody I come in contact with. I get to try to pour some of that into them.
You are an inspiration, I think, to a lot of people, Vera. I hope you know that. And you are to me because I knew there were circumstances, but I didn't know the depth of those circumstances. And with all of that trauma could come a lot of anger, a lot of sadness,
Mhm.
a lot of suspicion, a lot of shutdown, a lot of cynicism. But I have never shown up at a meeting. I have never been in a room with you where you're not just radiating joy and love.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. And I think that that is because much crap is off of me, and when you find like a second chance at life, I also like to say that I've lived two lifestyles in one lifetime. So when I get this opportunity, because I found out who I am and whose I am, I get this opportunity to live life. So that gives me so much energy, and I'm excited and I am happy. And I'm like, I don't have to live like that no more. It's such a freedom. It is such a freedom that I don't have to hide anymore. And that's where the recovery out loud comes from. I want to scream from the mountaintop that recovery is real. Just like the things that keeps us in bondage is real. People trauma is real, but recovery is real, and because of some work settings, a lot of people have like hid that they are in recovery or they don't want anybody to know. And I totally respect that. But I'm so grateful that I got that freedom in my job setting, in my church, at home, that I can be free to let people know that that stuff does not define me. That's just what it was like, what happened, and I get to tell you what it's like now. And life is so good. I've addressed those issues. I lost 6 children, but today I have 6 kids and a grandbaby, and they all live right here in Bloomington, and we get to do stuff together. And then there was a time when I was walking up and down the streets crying, so angry. Like, I don't have anywhere to go. It's in the wintertime, and I got a bunch of kids. And I would look at this house that had all of these candles, and I would just cry out to God, why can't that be me and my kids inside of that house? Why does other people have that fortune and I want that? And I don't know the direction I need to go in to make that happen. I know where my kids was off. So I felt like this is such a long road in recovery. It is a process. It's a process. But because I've addressed those issues, I've learned how to work on my integrity. I think that was the spiritual principle. I was like, you mean I got to do the right thing when nobody's looking? When nobody won't find out? No, this is hard stuff, but I get to do it. Like it's a privilege. And I mean, I just cannot stop talking about how freeing it is. And that's where that joy comes from. I'm super excited. I'm super happy about this second chance. And then I get to help somebody else get to this point. I'm excited. I think you are on mute.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
When did you make that transition from really having to focus on healing Vera and having enough capacity mentally, spiritually, time to be helping other people and to get involved with the Labyrinth program? I know we're
Well,
all healing ourselves all the time. It's not like it stops, but you
mhm,
obviously got to a good place where you shifted to become this servant leader.
mhm.
And how did
Well,
that happen?
I think that happened really through working the 12 steps. Of course, I went to treatment and I got out and I did what they said do, get a sponsor and work some steps. But that last, the 12th step is about giving back. It's just like step 1 through 11. These are the things that we learned. And step 12 is about giving that back, because somebody freely walked me through the 12 steps. So I want to freely give that back to somebody else. Let this keep going. I want my sponsees to sponsor another lady. I want this thing to keep going. And so I would say it happened through working the steps. So after I, of course, worked all of my steps, which I'm still in the process of. I go to meetings. I'm heavily involved with recovery. And I worked at the treatment center for several years. And then how I got connected with Labyrinth is, um, first of all, I'm super nosy. And I seen that they was working on, yeah, they was working on these two houses. And so I was like, I got some history in one of those houses. So I was like, they gonna do with them houses. So I stopped and I asked. And so I talked to Mary Campbell and she was explaining that this was gonna be like a transition housing and it's gonna be called Labyrinth House. I was like, well, if you guys ever need a volunteer, like that really has me interested. I would come and volunteer, but I never heard anything. Then I started dropping some of my clients from Chestnut off here. So I was like, I don't know what's going on in those houses, but I didn't want to get dropped off there. I know it's something positive going on. And then the client called me one day and said, my counselor wants to talk to you. And so I was thinking that they want to do a disclosure form so we can talk about the client, but they wanted to have an interview with me. So I started working part time. And of course, I fell in love with the program. And so now I'm here full time and I've managed to grow in the program. So,
And tell me, if you will, tell all of us a little bit about how all of that experience and all of that empathy and all of that growth led you to reach out to Nita.
well, actually, so I would see Nita sometimes and she would say, Vera, when I'm done drinking, I'm going to call you. And I know sometimes I got emotional on her because of the condition she was in. Her eyes would be yellow, um, just her face would be like yellow. And I was afraid that she's not going to make it to the phone call to call me for help. So sometimes I would get emotional, like, don't wait, just do it now. I would beg her. And she's like, when I'm ready, I'll call you. And so I didn't even know who she was, but she was like, "This is Juanita," in this professional voice. And I was like, "Juanita?" And she was like Nita Jumper. So, I mean, Nita Nasby. And so I was like, "Oh." And she was like, "I'm ready." And she was in a nursing home, and she was like, "I want you to pick me up and start taking me to meetings with you." And so that's how our relationship started over. I started picking her up from the nursing home and taking her to a meeting. And so I was like, "I need you to be a client because I'm doing this on work hours." So um, she came and did an assessment. So now she's an outreach client. So now legally I can take her to the meetings and take her to a doctor's appointment or something like that. And so then she said, "Well, I'm interested in that house." And I'm like, "Nita, you got to be able to take care of yourself. I don't know if you could come there to live." She was like, "Oh, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get to where I can walk. I'm going to do the things I need to do because I'm moving in that house." I was like, "Well, okay." And so she did. She moved in. She was able to take care of herself. And of course, I was very afraid because I've known Nita all my life. I was afraid that we would have issues with her breaking the rules and drinking. And she never had not one bad BAC. She passed them all. She stayed sober the entire time, which just blew my mind. Blew my mind. I was so super excited for her. We did have some challenges, because this is Nita we're talking about.
Well, I know.
Sometimes she'll be on board with, "Yes, I'm going to save my money." And then sometimes she felt like, why are you taking my money every month, Vera? And I'm like, "Do you know we're saving it? We're saving it." And so she would be all mumbly about that. And then sometimes I would have to get on her because she's a diabetic and she would be stealing candy right in front of me. I'm like, "Put that back." And she'll be putting it in her pocket saying, "Okay, I'm going to put it back." No. So,
She was, she could make you laugh. She could make you cry. She was definitely, as Jim just said, one of a kind. And
one
I
of a
remember
kind.
after the first meeting with Labyrinth Made Goods, where Lisa came and was teaching all of us about fragrance, and we were smelling different things and talking about the fragrances we were going to create. Nita was the most engaged, involved, telling
Yeah.
people what to smell. And at the end of the meeting, when she was walking out, she said something like, I don't know that these are the exact right words, but I never knew so many people who I didn't know could love me so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was just
Yes.
ready to let it in.
Yes. And that's how she acted at meetings too. Sometimes when she get through talking, people would clap and she just like, "Vera, they love me, you know, and she loved Labyrinth House. She loved Labyrinth House. They had something going on at Sunnyside. And um, so she was supposed to be just going to participate in what they had going on. But she stood up. She had them all sitting down. She just made herself the guest speaker. I said, "Oh my God." Because she told them all about Labyrinth. And if you're having a problem, like she just made herself a spokesperson for Labyrinth. Like, now, what that was, you wasn't supposed to be. She said, "They let me be the main speaker, baby." I mean, you just had to love Nita. You
We
had
watched
to
her
just
do
love
that
Nita.
twice at packaging meetings with the student that we're working on the Labyrinth made good packaging in the Design Street program. And she joined us, and she had 15 jaded college students just spellbound by her presence. And the thing that was so amazing is she created 15 different ambassadors for, as you would say, recovering out loud, for
Yes.
being aware of people in the community that need not a hand out, but a hand up, just a
Yeah.
hand of comfort, somebody to listen, somebody to care. And she spoke to it so well. And I know that these students will never forget her presence. I also know how proud she was of coining out, or whatever the correct term
Yeah.
is. She got her coin. Uh, was that a year?
I'm not for sure. I think I had some, I think it was her year medallion. Yes. I want to look through and see if I can find a picture of Nita.
I know she was so proud of celebrating what I think was her year
Can
of
you see this?
sobriety. I can.
Her, this was her getting her own sobriety cake.
I love it.
Yeah. This was me, her, and another meeting. I don't know if you can see it. This is
Oh, that's a
me,
beautiful picture
her.
of the two of you. Look at those smiles.
Yeah.
You know that you were there for her when she needed you.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard to make total sense of Nita putting in all of this work and attaining sobriety and then are losing her.
Yeah. 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 But I'm just so grateful for the days that she did have, because I just feel like I know she's thanking God. Like, I mean, I feel like it wasn't enough time. I wanted her to just be able to live this second opportunity of life for years, but I don't get to, make that decision. And
But you helped her to live that second life, as you said, polishing the stone, because she
yeah,
went out as the real Nita, the real character
yeah,
Nita,
yeah,
with joy. She had been through recovery. She was in the program. She was loving the
yeah,
house. So she got to experience life as the real Nita. And
yeah.
that's a
And then
gift you should be proud of giving her.
yeah. I mean, like, oh my God, when she moved out, um, it was just such a joy to see her. Um, Run over there, get me this flat screen TV, go buy me a bed. She was just ordering me around, and then she was so happy that she saved that money,
With
you
the
know.
exhibit that we're having at Heartland that we're working on together and honoring Nita with one of the sculptures, she's kind of coming full circle. I think Jim and I shared with you before, but late in, maybe it was early 2020, we were out there on campus and we were walking down the hall, and Nina had gone to Heartland and was working on her GED, I think. And she's walking down this hall with this women who were just following her like her new best friend. And she saw us way down the hall, and she turned to her friends and she yelled down, "Hey, those are my two bosses." And Jim and I looked at each other, and without missing a word, nothing, we're both like, "Oh, no, we are not. We are not your bosses, Nita." We are your friends and supporters, but she was
Yes,
a character, and I
such a character.
thank you for helping me speak for Nita, to share
Yes.
Nita's voice in your own, and today for sharing about your journey and your story.
Oh,
As I
you are
said,
so
you
welcome.
are an inspiration to everybody in the program and an inspiration to anybody that will hear this, that if you don't give up on yourself, there is a do-over.
There is always a solution. There is always a solution. Thank you so much, David. Thank you.
Thank you.